So, here is our treasure map for today. First, we'll define what a research gap actually is. Second, we'll cover fast-track literature scanning. Third, we're going to hunt for future research clues. Fourth, we'll explore the reflective sandwich method. And finally, we'll write a winning gap statement. Let's get to it.
Okay, kicking things off with Section 1, what exactly is a research gap? Before we can go hunting for this white space, we kind of need to know what it looks like out there in the wild.
A research gap is essentially an unanswered question or an unresolved problem in a field that reflects a lack of existing research. But honestly, here is how you should really think about it. It is the birthplace of your research topic. A gap isn't just, well, actually scratch that. It's not just a casual piece of missing information. It is a strategically identified void where established knowledge is severely lacking or maybe even pulling in contradictory directions. And why does this matter? Because without a gap, your proposal just won't get approved. You literally cannot find a viable research topic until you find that gap.
And based on the research of D. Anthony Miles and others, you've got to realize that not all gaps are the same. You have knowledge gaps, where the desired findings just flat out don't exist yet. Empirical gaps, where theories are out there, but they haven't been rigorously tested in the real world. Methodological gaps, meaning, hey, we need to use a totally new research method to get some fresh, undistorted insights. Or population gaps, where a specific demographic, like maybe a certain age group or profession, has just been entirely ignored. Knowing your specific gap type tells you exactly what kind of treasure you're digging for.
Moving right along to Section 2, fast-track literature scanning. Because let's be real, how do we find these gaps without reading thousands of pages word for word?
To do this without losing your mind, you need a systematic, three-tier reading method. First, you scan. You take a bird's-eye view of just the abstracts and conclusions to understand the overall landscape. Second, you interrogate. For the papers that actually matter to you, do a critical deep dive into their methodology and results. Ask yourself, did their method actually support the conclusion they drew? Finally, you synthesize. You map the different authors against each other to visually identify those white spaces where literally no one has connected the dots yet.
So what does this look like in practice? Here is the rapid skim review process in action. First, identify your core keywords and pull up only the absolute freshest articles. We're talking the last year or two. You definitely do not want to accidentally fill a gap someone else just closed last month. Read the abstract, check the introduction, and then boom, jump straight to the discussion or conclusion. What were they trying to find, and what did they actually find? Rinse and repeat this for 5 to 10 articles. I promise, this saves you weeks of reading and gets you right to the absolute edge of current knowledge.
That brings us perfectly into Section 3, hunting for future research. This is when we look for explicitly stated clues left behind by the authors themselves.
Listen, if you take nothing else away from this explainer, remember this acronym, FRIN. It stands for Further Research is Needed. This right here is your ultimate goldmine. When you're scanning those recent articles we just talked about, actively search the text for this exact phrasing, or variations of it like future research directions or research opportunities. You're very often going to find a specific heading titled Limitations in Future Directions. Think of it this way. Researchers are literally telling you, hey, here are our blind spots, and here is what someone else, please let it be you, should study next. They're actively signposting the exact edge of current knowledge. By macking out the FRIN sections of your 5 to 10 recent articles, your research gap will honestly often present itself on a silver platter.
All right, let's transition to Section 4, the reflective sandwich method. We're going to see how we build this whole thing into an advanced conceptualization.
Identifying a gap is one thing, right? But formulating it into a rigorous academic research problem is another beast entirely. Enter the reflective sandwich method. This is a brilliant pedagogical innovation conceptualized by Dr. Regidor T. Carale, and no, unfortunately, it's not a lunchtime snack. It operates as a cognitive dialogic framework, which is just a fancy way of saying it uses structured feedback and reflective practice to help you transition from simply observing a problem to fully conceptualizing a scholarly inquiry. It metaphorically sandwiches empirical realities between ideals and reflective processes.
Now picture this matrix in action. You start on the left with the observed problem in your specific context. Then you map out the reality of that problem, what is actually happening on the ground, with all its messy, real-world deficiencies. Right next to that, you write the ideals, what should be happening if things were absolutely perfect. By laying it out visually like this, your concrete, everyday empirical observations suddenly integrate with high-level theoretical constructs. And that leads you directly to formulating your specific independent and dependent variables. It's like a giant puzzle coming together.
The entire engine of this sandwich method relies on cognitive dissonance. You are directly contrasting the reality, that concrete, observable issue with all its flaws, against the ideal, the optimal functioning. By explicitly defining what is versus what should be, you create a tension. And that tension, that exact space between reality and the ideal, that is exactly where your research gap lives. It totally transforms your inquiry from a vague, fuzzy idea into a highly structured, actionable problem.
But a quick warning, as you use this method to refine your topic, you've got to remember the Goldilocks principle. Your research gap needs to be just right. It shouldn't be so broad that it's completely unmanageable for a single thesis or dissertation. You can't boil the ocean, right? But it also shouldn't be so hyper-narrow, what we call a so what gap, that solving it offers no real value to the field. That'll just get your proposal rejected. You want a gap that is significant, manageable, and highly actionable.
Which brings us to our fifth and final section, writing your gap statement. You've scanned the literature, you've found your FRIN, you've used the sandwich method to conceptualize the problem. Now, how do you actually sell it?
An effective research gap statement follows a highly effective three-part formula. Step 1. Acknowledge what existing literature has studied. You want to cite specific papers here to show you've done your homework. Step 2. Identify specifically what has not been studied. This is your gap. Step 3. And pay attention because this is how you win your committee over. Explain the consequence of this gap remaining unfilled. Why does this actually matter? Vague gaps, like there is limited research on X, are incredibly weak. Specific gaps, like no study has examined Y in context Z using method W, are exceptionally strong and totally convincing. And just like that, we've reached the end of our explainer. You now have a systematic treasure map in your hands. You know how to fast-track your literature review, hunt for those FRIN gold mines, use the reflective sandwich method to contrast reality against ideals, and finally, write a rock-solid gap statement. The literature review is no longer a late-night chore. It is a thrilling act of discovery. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Grab your keywords, hit those academic databases, and ask yourself, what white space are you going to conquer next? Thank you so much for learning with me today.